So the Jehovah's Witnesses, the New World Translation reflects their theology. Of course, we know that this is the minority opinion when it comes to Trinitarian perspectives. Let's look at a few different website resources to substantiate why their position is not to be accepted. This is from ChristianCourier.com. It's an article on this particular translational issue from the Jehovah's Witnesses, and they've got a lot that they have here. I don't want to read all of it. I just want to jump down into the article, jump into the context, and notice the part that I've got highlighted in blue. The Christian Courier says, the noun theos is found some 1,343 times in the Greek New Testament. According to one scholar who has researched the matter considerably, in no fewer than 282 of these texts, theos is without the article. So that's what they're trying to alert us to right away. John is not the only person to leave the article out of in front of the word God. If the Watchtower contrived translation rule is valid, and their rule is that the reason that it's left out is because John is wanting to let us know that Jesus is not God, rather he is a God. He's a divine creature. He's a divine being. He's like God, but he's not really God. So their theology gets in the way. So if the Watchtower translation is valid, if the rule is valid because that the missing the in front of theos is valid, then we would expect to find the rendition of a God in each of these passages, right? These 1,300 times here, more than 1,300 times where theos found without the article the. In other words, it doesn't say the God, it simply says God. So Watchtower wants us to believe that, hey, you have to fill in a God. You have to put the indefinite article where the definite article is missing. But that isn't the case. This article says in only 16 instances of the New World Translation, 6% of the total, do we find the rendition as a God, gods, or godly. And so this article here online, which is a Trinitarian perspective, says that even in the context of John 1 through 18, where theos is found without the article on 6 occasions, and we have the verses rendered there, it is only rendered as a God or God twice, once in verse 1 and once in verse 18 in the New World Translation, meaning even the witnesses do not follow their own self-imposed rule. So they are inconsistent in their rule that, hey, if there's no definite article in front of the word God, theos in the Greek, then we should translate it as a God, right? They're actually picking and choosing. They're cherry picking on which verses they want to render that. So that's something that should tell you why their translation is not trustworthy, at least in this particular aspect of the theology behind their version here. We can continue looking at this particular aspect of why it's better for us to trust the multitude of majority translations that are available on the Christian market today. Let's look at Dr. James White's explanation for this particular phenomenon on why John left out the in front of theos. We'll just pick his article up here from aomin.org, which is Alpha and Omega Ministries.org. And here's what he has to say. All right, this is an article that Dr. James White wrote. Of course, he's a Trinitarian, so here's what he has to say. The third clause of this verse has occasioned great debate and controversy, mainly due to the fact that the Greek word for God, theos, does not have the definite article the before it. Right, in the beginning was, and the word was God, and the word was God, or God was the word. Why doesn't it say, and the God was the word? Some pseudo-Christian or Arian groups have said that this means that the word was a God, or God-like, being like angel, Jehovah's Witnesses, right? So he's aware of that. Most Christians are aware of how the Jehovah's Witnesses spin this verse. Dr. White continues, but is this the case? Other Christian scholars have put great weight into the idea that the term them, I think there's a typo, it should say then, is being used as an adjective to describe the Logos, and that this is why John did not put the article there. In other words, if I scroll to the top of the page, Dr. James White translates the verse, or he paraphrases the verse, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was deity with a capital D. Notice that.